Hello, Baker. It's your mayor with another COVID-19 update. And this morning with me, I have the superintendent of schools for the city of Baker, Dr. Herman Brister. He will give you some information that will enlighten you and excite you. And then I'll be back to continue with some updates on safety precautions. Stay tuned.
Good morning, Buffalo Herd. This morning I'm coming to you from the City of Baker School District Central Office and Administration to give you just an update on where we are in dealing with COVID-19. First of all, I want to say this is a very serious matter and serious time for the Baker City School System, the students involved, employees, and all those who are listening to what we're doing to move our system forward. I'd like to take just a minute or two to go over some of the initiatives and so forth and the steps that we're taking to ensure that learning is taking place in a safe environment and doing what's best for our educational community in the city of Baker. I want everyone to know that education in the city school system did not stop on the onslaught of the coronavirus. We planned several days ahead of time anticipating that this particular crisis may be an extended time. So consequently, our leadership team came together days before the governor made his announcement, just preparing for a continuous educational environment for the citizens and the students that attend the City of Baker School System. We already use a lot of digital platforms, so we created a smoother transition to our K-12 distant learning program. Now, what that simply means that we're overly concerned about our secondary students, those in grades 6 through 12. So we issued Chromebooks out on that Friday before we got out to make certain that many of our students, not all, had devices to be able to log on and continue their instructional practices. So a yeoman job by the secondary level, Baker High and their staff, and Baker Middle and their staff, on getting the end devices out to our students to make this happen. Several things took place over the school system across the state. On the screen you probably see the platforms that the school system really has already implemented, and all of these particular devices and in all these particular programs actually existed in the City of Baker School System prior to the crisis. So we made it very streamlined for parents to see exactly what platforms are available, and then ensure that those students are actually logging in and taking care of their schoolwork via these platforms. I want to also reiterate that our core teachers are the primary drivers of this platform. They have established on the website what we call office hours. So parents, if you're listening, if you have a concern or a question, those teachers have office hours in which you can pose those questions to. You still can contact your school administrators, and of course you can always contact your superintendent. Let's talk just a little bit about food and nutrition. We know across the state of Louisiana, across the country, 2 squares a day, 2 meals a day for our students become very, very vital to their health and to the educational environment. We also know that those 2 meals a day really help families, not only in the city of Baker, but across this country, of providing those 2 meals indeed lessen the stress on families with limited incomes to feed our babies. We posted on the website a couple weeks ago where the sites will be located to continue serving meals. Now, any kid that's school age, under the age of 18, have access to these meals, irregardless to whether or not you attend the City of Baker School System or not. So let me say that again. Any school-aged child in the City of Baker can access a meal that we're providing via our transportation department at the various locations that are listed on the website. We'll be modifying that going forward. One, instead of issuing 2 meals a day, driving by twice a day, I have staff actually modifying that schedule. We can give you breakfast and lunch at one stop, and moving to 3 days a week to give you enough rations, enough food to take you across one day to the next. So starting Monday, I'd like the mayor to emphasize that we're going to Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, but you'd have breakfast and lunch given to you at the same time. So kudos to our cafeteria staff, kudos to our transportation staff, and Mr. Beelan for making sure that our kids are fed a nutritious meal. Let's talk just a little bit about accountability. As you probably heard on television, that the accountability for statewide testing was suspended. And what that simply means, we'll do internet access. Internet access is available via the City of Baker school system. If you have that access in your homes, you're ahead of the game. Several providers, Cox, CenturyLink, AT&T Access, are offered plans for those individual homes that perhaps did not have access to the internet. We did a survey, and this would be very few of our youngsters that may have to take this route. Also, if you have an iPhone, you have a data plan, you have access to the internet and to get our data. Now, I'd like to talk just a little bit about the accountability, if I can get that up. If I can't, what I want to tell the listening audience about accountability, several days ago, the Department of Education waived the accountability. That accountability really said, okay, we're going to suspend all of our high-stake testing for this school year. That's EOC as well as LEAP. With that suspension, the governor actually got relief because that LEAP and that EOC is tied to our federal funding. We received a waiver for federal funding. That money will stay in place. We'll pick up on our assessments on next school year. What the state is doing at this particular point is trying to determine how students are being promoted forward. This is particularly important for our secondary students. Once that information comes out, we'll post it on our website, and you'll be the first to get it to find out exactly how that will be handled. Now, I would like to say kudos to our secondary principals for continuing the instructional process. So whether we get a waiver or not, our students are still engaging in instruction and engaging in learning. So those teachers who have the Google Classroom, the Google Hangouts, using those platforms to communicate with their students, I want to take my hats off to you. This is the cutting edge stuff, and this is where we should be. And I would think this is the platform going forward that may well change the paradigm of education, particularly on the higher end of the secondary level, those courses that are very difficult to get highly qualified and trained teachers to, and of course the educational level on the college level. So I think we're there. I'd like to commend the community for staying with the school district, being forthright. We get those services to you. And again, anything that we could do better, don't hesitate to send me a text or an email, or any of the people that you feel comfortable with that you can contact and get that information to us. We don't know when we're going back to school. We're planning across the spring break. That spring break will be taken as it's been outlined in our academic calendar. So parents, students, teachers, that break on that calendar will happen. So at that point, you shut down your instruction, and hopefully by then we get some direction from the governor on where we're moving forward after April 12th. To my seniors, we will have a graduation. Today I can't tell you when, but trust me, you will have a ceremony. We will recognize you. You've done great work. My heart go out to you because you brought in the 2016 flood from your high school. You were displaced. And now we're displaced again with this coronavirus. But I promise you this, you will have a ceremony with all of the trimmings and trappings that we usually have, and you'll get an opportunity to walk across that stage. I'd like to close by emphasizing that follow the guidelines. follow the policies set out by CDC, follow the policies that are set out by your local mayor, Mr. Waits, and just take heed. This is serious, treat it serious, and we'll come out on the other end better than we went in on this end. That concludes everything that I can bring to you. Stay tuned to our website because we're constantly updating information as we get it. The mayor's proclamation, the governor's proclamation, all the hand washing procedures, all the things you need to do to stay healthy and safe. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Hello, Baker. Welcome back. I hope you would take that information that you have just gotten from Dr. Brewster. I want to thank him for being here this morning. I know that he is very, very busy trying to continue to educate our kids online. And so I want to thank him, his staff. I want to actually thank the whole school system because they're doing a great job here. And they're doing the things that they're supposed to be doing to continue to educate our kids. I was just listening to him, and he talked about that 2020 class that graduates, that are supposed to graduate this year, which was the same class that came in during the 2016 flood. And I kind of feel connected to them because that's the same time I came in, and we came in together. And boy, it's just been something else over the last 3.5, almost 4 years. But he did promise you a graduation, and I'll promise you that when you guys have that graduation, I will be there. I want to talk a little bit about social distancing. I think that is the next slide that's coming up now. You guys already know about this. We've talked about it, and we understand why it is important. It reduces risk to you and your family and the community. And when we talk about your family, this is why the slide is up. You guys need to do this too also. If you have family that is coming in and out of your home every day, and they're going to work or they're going around other people, we need to really be conscious of that, to protect our homes and make sure that we keep the distance there and so you can reduce your risk at your house. So we continue to talk about that. I ask you to continue to tell your family about that. It needs to be a constant conversation about it. Business owners, you need to talk about it when people come into your stores. It's all about flattening the curve. It's all about doing what we need to do to help other people not get affected. And here's the deal. Here's the thought process with social distancing. You have to always think that you are a carrier and you might be able to give this to somebody else. You should think that you are a carrier. And so you don't want to give this to anybody else. So you want to keep your distance and you want to be safe so you can protect the other person. That's the mindset you should have. And as you listen to the governor talks about this, he continuously talks about this. Mayor President Broom, they continue talking about this. So we have to get that mindset that we don't want to infect anybody else. So social distancing is important. When you go in the store, make sure you keep your distance. Now, Walmart is a big store that we have here in Baker. There's a lot of room. You can keep your distance. And when you come up to the line, keep your distance. That is going to protect you and protect the other person that's around you. All right, so the mindset should be that I could be a carrier. I could infect this person and hurt this person, and you don't want to do that. Okay, we want to look out for we are our brother's keeper. So practice social distance. The next slide I think we're talking about is shelter in place, and we've talked about this before. Only leave home, but remember that we need to follow the guidelines of the governor. And that's the guidelines that we should be following. And it's basically the same as we've been talking about for the last week. And we talked about the young people, but the young people don't have cars. A lot of them don't have cars. So a lot of people driving. If you're not going to the store, if you're not going to the doctor, if you're not an essential worker, please, please stay at home. Do not leave your house unless you're going to work out. I see people going to work out. There's a lot of space in between there if you do that. But if you don't have anywhere to go, that's really, really important, stay at home. And I can say you guys, for the most part, about 50 to 60% of you are following that. We don't see a lot of people out. But we need to get the rest of the community involved and make sure that they understand what this is all about. Okay, so shelter in place, stay in place, follow the guidelines of the governor. And the governor has some really specific guidelines that should be in place. And the people that's at work, they are essential people. If you have people that's not essential, non-essential, they shouldn't be at work. And we can keep them at home so we can keep them safe, like we're doing at City Hall. We're doing our best to spread it out so if we do have people that's carrying, that they don't get somebody else sick. And we can keep the workforce moving, and that'll help the city. If we spread it out and only have those certain people there, and they practicing social distance, and so we'll be able to keep the restaurants open. We'll be able to keep the grocery stores open, but we gotta practice it. We have to practice the social distance, and we have to, when we don't have to move, we do need to go ahead and shelter in place. And that's it. Just stay there. You can do things around your house. There's a lot of things you can do. And at a later time, I'll get into some things that this is going to help us with. Flatten the curve. We're talking about flatten the curve. The governor talks about this all the time. We really need to work on this right now, okay? Because our healthcare system is getting to a point where if we don't do this, they will be overwhelmed. And let me tell you how this is going to look. I don't want you guys to panic. If the healthcare system gets full, no more beds, people will be sick and they will have nowhere to go. So we gotta stop the spread of this thing. And the only way you can stop the spread of it is to stay away, to stay home. Because you do not know who is carrying this thing and who can make you sick, or if you're carrying it and you can make somebody else sick. It is this is a team effort that we got going on here. And we got to understand the purpose of this. That people at the healthcare and the hospitals are working round the clock to help people. They're going to do that. We got to give them an opportunity to get to be able to give the best care that they can give, that they can take care of these people, get them out of the hospital and get them home. Okay, so this is what this is all about. Precautions, let's talk a little bit about precautions, and you can bring that slide up for me. Safety precautions is very important. A lot of people are starting to get away from this. You need to create a habit. You need to wash your hands constantly and make sure that you follow these procedures. Anywhere you go on the internet, you're going to get the same things. Now, there's a difference between allergies, flu, and actual COVID-19, the coronavirus. The coronavirus is a fever of 100.4, a cough, a shortness of breath, okay? And symptoms appear at least 14 days after you've been exposed. Okay, so if you got that going on, then you need to call your healthcare provider. And then they'll triage you at home, and they'll make a decision whether or not what the next step would be. Now, I noticed that we have people with a lot of allergies going on here, and we still have people catching the flu. So know the difference, but always call your healthcare provider and let them make the decision for you. Stop the spread of germs everywhere. We need to stop the spread, wiping down things. This slide is a really busy slide. When you get a chance, it'll be on the website. You'll be able to talk about, to take a look at it. You really need to show your kids this, because I mean, it just depends on, you know, how you've been living, but you need to reinforce this to your kids. We need to reinforce this in the businesses and at work, that we need to be able to stop the spread of the germs, because this virus stays around for a little while. That's going on. So those are the things that I wanted to talk to you about, to make sure that you guys understand where we are and how important it is. And we had a conversation yesterday about fear. And the things that we're doing, that we're working together, that we're talking about, the mitigations, following the rules. This is not out of fear. This is for the love of our neighbor, the love of our nation, because you are helping people that you don't know. You are helping healthcare providers. You are helping people that may not have this. And remember, the mindset should be that you could be a carrier hurting somebody else. So let's follow the rules. We do it not out of fear, because we're afraid. We're not afraid. Fear is good sometimes. We're doing it for our brother man, for our neighbor, to make sure that we protect them. And if they're doing the same thing, they protect us. And together we can flatten the curve in Baker, East Baton Rouge Parish, and in the state of Louisiana. Guys, if we take this seriously, we can truly get through this. We can get through this, and we can start looking forward to our future. But we have to work as a team. We have to work together, and we need to understand what the rules are and what we need to do. Thank you, guys. Be blessed and stay safe. This is Mayor Waits.
And welcome back, everybody. I'm Leo Honeycutt with continuing coverage on the coronavirus pandemic that's actually hit Louisiana and the United States and the world. But there's nothing more important than what it does at the local level. From Baker, we have Baker Mayor Darnell Waits, and he's with us today to talk about exactly what it is that he's seen at the local level. And thank you very much for being. I would shake your hand, but obviously
that's right.
we're actually even too close.
That's right.
As we are.
As we are.
But tell me what you're seeing on the ground here in Baker.
We're really seeing people come together. They are a little nervous about what's going on. It's a change, that they have a change in their lifestyles, and they really are working to adapt and follow what's going on. And what we're doing at our level here is to keep them informed. The more information they have will calm their nerves.
Well, that's what we're hoping to do with this too.
Yes.
And yesterday I was at the governor's press conference, and he is concerned, if in fact not alarmed, at the fact that we have so many cases skyrocketing in the state of Louisiana, mostly in Orleans and Jefferson Parish, yes, but it is now migrating up the river. It is here in East Baton Rouge Parish. Right. So we should not only be concerned about staying at home, but that was he was pretty emphatic about yesterday. That's right. Stay at home.
That's right. He's talking about it. He's plugging it in. And here's the deal: the things that he is talking about is coming from the medical community, but from the 1911, I think, pandemic that they had there. These are the things that we've learned. I'm a history guy, so you go back and they work. If we do them, they will work. And it has to come from the governor, and he's been really, really great about putting it. That's the plan. That's going to help us in the long term, and I really, really admire what he's doing with that. And so all I'm doing is voicing the same thing that he's doing. There's no need to change anything. Just stay on the same message that he has.
All right. Now, we have 4 deaths so far here in East Baton Rouge Parish. Yes, we don't have any in Baker so far as we know.
So far as we know, we don't really know what's going on. We know that it is close. We know that the hospitals are taking in patients from this area in the Tri-City in the north, between Central, Zachary, and Baker. We do know that. We just don't know who it is.
All right, so one thing that we're really truly concerned about too is the rate of infection. And it was in the beginning considered to be sort of an old person's or a person who's compromised. It's their problem. But it's really everybody's problem. And now the rate of infection has affected the 40 to 49-year-olds more than anybody else.
That's right. And it's really, if you take a look at it, those 40, 49-year-olds, they were not healthy anyway. They were not healthy 40-year-olds. And you have to think about that. How is a 40-year-old not healthy? Well, maybe they're not eating right, the diabetes, all the things that we've been talking about before the pandemic is coming back now, about being healthy. And so, yes, that is just really shocking to see 40-year-olds in the hospital and 40-year-olds dying of this.
And one thing we're really concerned about is crashing the healthcare system.
That's right.
Because if next week, and that's when they're expecting this to peak, we're hoping it might peak.
That's right.
Next week we could see such an influx that we don't have enough beds to cover it. So if people will stay home and stop the spread of this, then we have a chance that this will level out quickly.
That's right. We need to flatten the curve, and we have to work together. We have people that's asking questions that that's really not important. The deal is that the message should be coming from everybody, all the leaders, all the local representatives, all the local senators, all the council people. Everybody should be putting the message out the best way they can. Social media, we should be sending letters out using the same message as the governor so we can get everybody in place.
All right. Mayor, thank you very much for being here today.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We're going to keep the updates going too for the northern half of the parish and certainly East Baton Rouge Parish specific. We appreciate you joining us. But again, as the governor was saying, please stay at home.
Yes.
If you don't have to get out, don't get out. We'll have more updates for you right here after this.